Hey, what's up, guys? I'm back with another video, and I'm super excited to be back here building this with you guys. I had a lot of fun designing this. I love cryptocurrencies. By the way, if you're not investing in cryptos, you should be. I don't have any links in the description. I don't have any affiliations, but I highly, highly recommend you getting started early and you're investing. So check this out. We're going to create a simple React app from the beginning, and we're going to end up with this site here. So we're going to start off with our navbar component here at the top. Then here we're going to have a hero section. Then check this out, guys. This is super cool, all right? So all this data you see right here on the right is actually being pulled in off the CoinGecko API. So we're going to use the use effect hook to use Axios to talk to the CoinGecko API. And what we're going to pull is, we're going to pull everything. So we're going to pull this image here, the name, the current price, then also this percentage change. That's all being pulled off of the API. So it's going to be really cool, you guys. And if it's a positive change, we want to render out some green text and an uptrend arrow. If it's negative, we're going to show the red text with a downtrend arrow. So hopefully we see a lot of green, you guys, especially if you're a cryptocurrency investor. Here is the CoinGecko API we're going to be using. It is completely free. It's super easy to use. I highly, highly recommend it for beginners. It's great if you're learning how to use APIs. So you don't even have to sign up for anything. You don't have to give them your email. You're not going to get any annoying emails from them. So you just literally copy the link. And I'm going to show you how to do everything. If you're completely new with APIs and CoinGecko, I'm going to show you how to do everything from the beginning. So don't you worry. Now let's scroll down here. We have a little hover effect on our little sign up section here. Also notice the hover effect on our buttons. We've got our buttons and input shaped like little leaves. So we're going to do some pretty cool CSS styling. Then of course you scroll down and we see our footer. So check this out as well. Everything is going to be 100% fully responsive as we get down to tablet sizes and then also mobile devices, even if we go down to like an iPhone size. So everything is going to be just displaying beautifully, you guys. We're going to be using the use state hook for our mobile responsive navbar, as well as storing some data from our API. So lots of media queries here, you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and close that out and pull it back to full screen. Again, this is a React application that we're gonna be building it in. We're gonna start from the very beginning, creating a blank React app, and we're gonna finish with this beautiful website here. So hope you liked it, you guys. It was a lot of fun. I had a great time building it, had a blast, and I'm gonna have fun building it with you as well. So if you're ready to get started, let's get going. All right, I'm in VS Code. I press Control Backtick button to get my terminal open here. And I'm already in the directory I want to be working in. So let's create our React app. npx create react-app. And I'm going to install it in the current directory. This will only take a moment, you guys. All right, it says happy hacking. That means we are ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and pull over my folder here that we just created. Close that out. We don't need that. And let's get our terminal back open here and bracket pair colorizer. Oh, that sucks. Okay, now let's go ahead and start our, actually let's create, go ahead and install some dependencies we're going to be using. And we're going to be using Axios in here as well as React icons. So I'm going to type npm I Axios and then also React-icons. Okay, go ahead and hit enter. And we'll just make sure everything is installed correctly. There's Axios and there's React icons. Perfect. Let's go ahead and start our server with npm start. We're going to have our, oh, yes. And this is the starter create React app template here is what it's going to be showing momentarily. There we go. So let's go ahead and structure our app here. We're going to clean some things up as well. So let's go in here and let's delete app.css. We don't need the app.test. We can get rid of the logo, the report web vitals, also the setup test here. So let's just go ahead and get rid of those. There we go. And it's going to throw some errors. That's okay. We're going to go into our index.js. Let's delete that. We don't need that. And in our app.js, we can go ahead and get rid of a lot of this, and we'll just change this here to a fragment. And at the top here, let's just say import React from React. There we go. Okay, so now it should just be a blank white thing here. Let's say hello Just make sure everything is working properly. There it is. So, okay, so let's go and structure our app like we're talking about. We're going to add in a components folder. And I'm also going to add under the source folder, I'm going to add an assets folder. We're not going to be using too much in here, but I just want to have it there so I can show you guys some things. So to get started, let's start off with our navbar. So under our components folder, I'm going to create a navbar.js. And I'm also going to create a navbar.css for our styling. So we got rid of the app.css, but we are going to be using the index.css. And what I'd like to do is just kind of go ahead and add in some styling here. This is going to be like our global style sheet here. So I'm going to add this at the top. This is just a Google font. I assume you're going to know how to grab those if you're watching a React tutorial, but you just go to fonts.google.com, and I'm using this, I think this is Poppins here. So we'll go ahead and add this in right here. We're going to say Poppins. There we go. And just some other, we're going to be using some CSS variables. So if you're not familiar, I'll throw in a little course on that. But basically, we're just going to be storing some colors in our CSS variables here. So this is the green we're going to be using, 118C4F. There we go. And also I'm going to have the background color. Whoop. You can type here, background color. Let's see, F5, F8, FF. I think that's going to be good. It's kind of like a light gray there. So off-white, light gray. So I'm also going to be throwing in a couple colors here. So let's do, and I'll show you why I'm doing this separately here in a moment. So, and this is how we access our variables. We type variable or var, then open parentheses, dash dash, primary, and that's going to use our green for whatever class we attach a primary to. So a few more things here in the global style sheet, guys. Bear with me here. Let's do a margin of 0, padding of 0, box sizing, we want a border box, and a few more things. Our list style type, we want to none. I do this on all my projects, guys. I'm sure you're familiar if you've watched any of the videos before. And for our links, let's do text decoration. We want none. We don't want any outline or anything like that. I'm just going to go instead of default color here of kind of like a light black there. There we go. And let's also set a container in here. We can do a container component, but I'm not going to do that in this video. But I just want the max width to be, we do 1240 pixels, and we want the margin to be auto, so it just sits right there in the middle of the page. So just a couple more things here. I want to add in, I'm just going to copy this over. Basically, it's H tag and P tag sizing here. So H1, these are the font sizes we're using here. We're going to use H1, 2, 5, then this P tag here. And I'm going to go ahead and throw some button styling in here. I'm only going to be using a couple buttons, but they're all going to be pretty similar here. So I'm going to say padding 14 pixels by 32 pixels. And these kind of have whoops, kind of like that tier, or sorry, leaf look to it, how the edges are, the bottom left and the top right edges are kind of curved. So I'll show you how we do that here in just a moment. So primary, background color, and we want also to be primary color. There we go. So this is much easier using CSS variables rather than just typing in colors. You know, if we're doing just like a white or black, yeah, that's easy to remember. But, you know, unless you're a genius, I don't have a really good memory. I can't remember some 6-digit hex code. So here's where we're doing that little leaf shape, the rounded corner. So we want 24 pixels and then 4 pixels over here. And for our button, let's do a font size 1.1 rem and a font weight of 600 and cursor pointer. There we go. And for our hover, we're going to do, let's do like a little box shadow here. So box shadow, here's what we're going to do, RGB, and let's do 0, 0, 0, 10%. See, 0 pixels, 8 pixels, 24 pixels. All right. And let's do our input here, because we are going to have just a couple input fields. It's going to be very, very, let's see here, padding. Very, very similar to our button styling here. 1 pixel solid. There we go. And our background will be transparent. Border radius, we want this to be the same. We got the same little look with the curved edges here. And let's do font size. 1 rem. Margin right. And whenever somebody types in our input, I want it to be that cool font that we're using. So font family, we're going to use Poppins. Then always be sure to give a secondary font, you guys, just in case the browser is not supporting it. So these next ones I'm going to copy over. Basically, it's just some media queries, and it is for our sizing here. So anything below 768 pixels, I'm going to shrink down our font sizes just a little bit here. And then also, I want our buttons to change. Oh, looks like I left out a closing bracket there. A little more room. And this is it for the styling, you guys, for our global styling. I'm just going to throw this in here. Also, under 768 pixels, I want to change our button and to a width of 100%. And we're going to give a little margin. Basically, we're going to stack our buttons when we with our media queries. So 100%. And that is it, you guys, for the global styling. Perfect. Now we got that boring stuff out the way. Let's go ahead, go into navbar.js, and we're going to be using functional components, all functional components in this tutorial. So you can type it all out. I'm just going to type REFCE. If you have the React ES7 snippets here, we can use some shortcuts and save a little bit of time. So let's go ahead and see. Let's import our style sheet. Let's see, navbar.css, and also we'll throw it in here before we forget. If you press enter, should auto import at the top. There it is, perfect. Go ahead and hit save there, kind of formats our code. All right, so let's get started here. I'm gonna give this class name of header, there we go. And we're going to be using our container. So div class name, container. And then in here, let's do our logo here. I don't actually have a logo. I'm going to use some text. So span d-phi, there we go. But I'm going to give this color. So our phi is green, and we already defined this in our index.css global style sheet. This is going to be that green. So we'll have a look just to make sure. That's perfect. That's what we want right there. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and finish building out our nav bar. So let's do an unordered list. I have a class name of Nav Menu. If you've watched any of my videos, guys, I used a lot of the same naming. I guess that's a good practice. I don't really know, to be honest. It seems like it'd be easy to understand for whoever's coding the project. So, and I'm not an experienced developer, guys. I'm just kind of learning. Thanks for following along as I learn. So hopefully you can learn something as well. So I'm going to name this one featured earn contact. There we go. And underneath our unordered list here, we did have that button at the top. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'm going to put that in it. I'm going to wrap that in a div as well. So I'm going to give that a class name of button group. There we go. And let's do our button with a class name of btn that we've already styled. And this one's going to say connect wallet. I love this. I love cryptos, you guys. This was a really fun project to build. I'm really excited to be building this with you guys. Oh, class name. And let's name this hamburger. This is where we're going to do our mobile menu here. So in here, we're going to use FA bars. There we go. We got to import that at the top. We're going to get some errors here. These are our React icons. So let's import curly brackets, and we're going to use FA bars, then also FA times. There we go. From React icons. And don't forget the /FA, or if you're using BS or FI, whatever the kind of pretext here you're using, make sure you include that. And also, don't forget parentheses. Or quotations there, sorry. Otherwise, you will get some errors. So, and it's saying that we haven't used FA times, and that's correct, we haven't. But let's go ahead and look over here and see what it looks like before we do any media queries. Or any styling at all, really. So, that's all our HTML in there. We're finished up with our JSX rather, for this component. So, let's go ahead and do some styling here. So, and tell you what, I'm going to do a little more here. I'm going to say size 20, and let's do style. Got to do 2 curly brackets here, color, and then don't forget we got to do some quotations here. And I just want this to be black, or let's do like a light black again. So there we go. Shouldn't be many changes. There we go. Perfect. Let's go ahead and do our styling. We've already attached our style sheet right here. So let's jump over and do our styling. So header, and we want a width of 100% with a height of 90 pixels. And let's do a border bottom. There we go. 1 pixel solid. Like I said, I only use the CSS variables for the colors, at least on colors that I can't really remember. So like I said, if we're doing white, black, or like an off-white, I'm just going to type that in because those are simple to remember. And let's do a position sticky. We want it to stick at the top whenever we scroll with the left 0. And let's add it a Z index. We always want this to be on top. So let's style our, see, now that we have it in our container, this where we want to display flex. And we're going to use a justify content space between. I think that one looks the best, you guys. And we want, oh, not baseline, we want this to be centered. And then a height of 100% padding. There we go, there we go. Let's look. Sweet, starting to come together here, starting to do it. All right, let's move on. I'm just going to add this in here. Colors, we're going to be using this. I'll show you here in just a minute. Color, and let's do our var primary. There we go. So let's go ahead and make this nav menu here. Let's make that horizontal, because we do want it to be horizontal when we're at our widescreen here. And don't worry, guys, we're going to hide this this hamburger button on the large screen. So let's wrap some of this up here. Give a little bit of room. So for nav menu, we want that to display flex, and that's just going to lay things down horizontally. And we want to give a little bit of padding on our list items, not on the top and bottom, but on the left and right there. And nav menu, our links, let's do a font size 1 rem. Thicken them up a little bit with 600 on the font weight. And color, I'm going to use that light black again. For our hamburger, we want this to display none. And then we're going to display block down in our media queries, which we're going to get to right now. So let's do media screen. And let's do, so anything under 1240 pixels. Let's do that. A max width. Sorry, guys. Max width, 1240 pixels. And anything under 1240 pixels, let's display our. Sorry, I want to grab our hamburger and display flex. There we go. So that means we're done with our full screen styling. So that is our navbar. It looks correct. Then, of course, when we go down below 1240 pixels, we want to hide this and show our hamburger menu. We haven't hid this yet, but we're on the right track here. So let's go ahead and style our map menu here. And I can pull this over so we kind of see what we're doing. I like that sometimes. All right. So let's go in here, grab our nav menu, and we want to position this as absolute, flex direction as column. So this is our media queries again. So on mobile devices or tablets, we want our menu to displayed as a column up and down. Have this at the start. Top 90 pixels, we want to start just below our header. And this is when we click on our hamburger button. This is what we're styling at the moment right here. So right now, I'm going to put this at right 0 so we can kind of see what we're styling. But we're actually going to hide it off the page. And then when we click the button, our hamburger button, I want it to display about 50% of the page. And at 100, I want to take up the complete screen, so 100 viewport heights. Let's give it a transition of 0.4 seconds. Z index, let's do 2. Our background, whoops. Get a white background. There we go. Border, and I'm going to do a border on the left. Just a faint line here. So 1 pixel solid. Just barely going to stick out here. There we go. So let's style some of these little list items and the links in here. This is what we want to do. Let's say nav menu li. Let's do padding of 1 rem, a width 100%, and a border bottom 1 pixel solid. Just so we get a little line underneath each one, like so. Perfect, there we go. I'm not the best graphic designer, you guys, so bear with me. Apologize if it looks kind of funky. Let's do 1.2 rem, a little bit bigger. There we go. Perfect, so we're finished styling the nav bar. Boom, there we go, it looks perfect. We shrink down. Uh-oh, why isn't this hiding? We only want it to show when we click on our hamburger button. And we're actually going to use the useState hook to do that. So like I said, let's go over here, and instead of 0, we want it to be off the screen 100%. So boom, then we click our hamburger button and we want it to appear. So for it to appear, we're going to give it an active class. So I'm just going to say nav menu.active. And when it's active, we want right to display 0, kind of just how it was just a moment ago. So our styling is done. Let's go into our navbar.js and create our hook here. So up here, we have to import our useState hook. So comma, and our curly brackets, we're going to say useState. And to useState, we're going to give it, I see const here and brackets. Going to take 2 values. I'm going to say click and set click. That's going to be equal to useState, and we want to give it a false value here by default. And then under that, we're also going to have a function. We're going to make it an arrow function. I'm going to call it handle click, and in this arrow function, we want to set the click to not clicked. Okay, and I'm going to show you right now what we're going to do. So basically, at false, we want to show this hamburger here. Then when we click it, we want the active link to come out and display our sidebar, our nav menu. And we want this icon here to change from the bars to the times, to that little X. So first, let's code this to where our nav menu will appear. And the way we're going to do that, we already coded our active class. So I'm just going to highlight this, and I'm just going to actually delete that. And then I'm going to open up some curly brackets. What we want to say is, basically, if clicked, we want to show nav menu and the active class. Otherwise, we're just going to show the nav menu. Okay. So boom. And so of course, nothing's working yet because we still haven't, we need to attach our handle click function here. And we're going to do that with our hamburger here. So for our hamburger, we're just going to add right after that on click. And then in there, it's our handle click function. So that's it, you guys, for our navbar to be functional. There it goes. Wait a minute, it's still not showing the X. Let's go ahead and do that right here. So what we want to say, and we're going to open up some curly brackets here. We're going to say, when clicked, show, we're going to do some open parentheses here. We want the FA times to show with a colon here. Otherwise, more parentheses here. Otherwise, we want to show the bars. And I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to cut it and throw it in there. And also the styling, I want it to be consistent. So I'm just going to copy that and just throw it in on here. So basically we are saying, pull it over so you guys, on click, we want to show the times. And then when we click again, otherwise it's going to show the bars. So everything should be working properly. Let's see. Boom. Change to the X and out pops our nav bar. That is excellent, you guys. That is looking really, really good. So what we're going to do next is we're going to do our hero. So let's go ahead and get started with that, you guys. I'm going to go ahead and close the navbar.js and navbar.css. And let's create our next component. Hero.js, hero.css. And again, I'm going to type my rfce to get my component here. I'm going to import hero.css is what we just called it. And let's go ahead and just import it here. There we go. All right, so from here, sorry, I hear my dog probably tearing stuff up in the background. All right, so for our hero, what we're gonna do is we are going to use a picture, and I'm gonna go ahead and bring this picture in right now. We already have our nav bar, and I'm just gonna pull this over. Sorry, we already have our assets folder, so I'm pulling it over. That's what we're gonna use right there. Let's start on our, let's see here, hero. Then we also want to do our container. And then I'm going to mark this out because I want to have a left side and then also, of course, right side. Just making it easier to follow along, you guys. Okay, div with a class name. Of course, this is going to be left. And in here, we're going to have a p tag. And we're going to say buy. See, buy and sell. Whoop, that's not it. Buy and sell crypto 24/7 using your, let's see, retirement account. There we go. And below here, let's do our h1 tag. We already styled all the sizing here, so it should be looking great. Currency with, let's see, your IRA. Cool. Then let's do another p tag. And there we'll say buy, sell, and store hundreds cryptocurrencies. There we go. Drop that down. All right, cool. So, and then in here, underneath the p tag, we're going to create a div with a class name. We're going to do an input container, is what I'm going to call it. And in here, of course, we're just going to do a container. So let's do our input with a type of, whoops, email. There we go. And let's do just a placeholder. It says enter your email. Cool. And let's close that off. So in here, we're also going to do a button with our class name of btn. We've already styled our inputs and our buttons. Let's have a look. Cool. Looking great already. Sweet. God, this is going to be badass. Okay. let's do our right side now. So for our right side, it's gonna be real simple. Div with a class name right. There we go. And I'm gonna wrap this image in a container. So basically I'm just gonna call this image container. And here's where we're gonna put our image source. And if you're not familiar with how to bring in images in React, this is one way we're gonna do it. And don't forget to give an alt tag, you guys, otherwise React likes to throw a fit. So notice instead of the file path, we're just gonna type, this is what we're gonna call it up here at the top, crypto. And up here, we're gonna say, import crypto. And you can name it whatever you want, you guys, but you make sure you call it the same thing that you're naming it up here. So it's in our assets folder, then hero-img.png is what it is. So cool. Of course, we haven't done any styling yet, so it looks, doesn't look very nice. So let's go ahead and jump into our styling. All our JSX is done for our hero component. It is looking nice. Let's jump in and style this thing. Just give it some room here. So we're gonna do the, hero container, and we're gonna be using grid, you guys, okay? So let's display this as grid, and it's good grid template columns. We're just gonna be using 2 for right here in this case. So 2, 1 fractions. And for margin, we're gonna do 4 rem on top and bottom, auto on the sides. By content to the center and align items to the center. Let's give it a padding of 1 rem. Perfect, perfect, you guys. All right, so let's style our left side here first. Our left side, hero.left, cool. So I'm just giving it a little bit of padding, 1 rem here. And also our hero h1 padding, 1 rem on the top and bottom, 0 on the sides. Hero input container. I'm going to give this a little bit of padding as well. Padding 1 rem just on the top and bottom. I want everything to be consistent on our sides. So let's, I think that's it for our left side. Let's go ahead and style our right side. So again, padding 1 rem. And let's do our image container. And we want this to be a width of 100% and display flex. But our actual image, I'm going to say max width of, 80%. And this is 80% of the image container with a margin of auto. Cool. Perfect. Perfect. And let's see here. How's our input look? I think that's looking pretty good. Of course, it looks funny when we're on a small screen. But as we open it up, I think that is looking pretty nice. There we go. There we go. And I'm just going to open up here our, let's see here. Make sure this text is right. Pop ins. There you go. Looking good. Looking good. I always use the elements down here as well as the console. We're going to be using that some in this video as well to help debug and kind of just help build out your site here or your app. So that I think looks great. I'm going to do a media query here because we want this to display vertically as a column on smaller devices. So let's do a media screen and the max width. I guess maybe anything under 940 pixels. Let's go ahead and target our hero container. We want the grid template column to just be 1 fraction. There we go. And let's give it a little margin top and bottom. All right, it is coming together. Starting to look professional. Got our nav bar working. Sweet. I think that is starting to look good. So the section we're going to do next, I'm going to call it basically a featured section, or it's the featured section there. So, and this is where we're going to connect, use Axios and the use effect hooks. We're going to connect to the Gecko API is what we're going to be using. I'm going to show you how to do all of that. It's going to be really sweet. So let's go ahead and just get started on that now. So I'm going to close these And let's create a new component. We'll call this featured.js. You know the drill, you guys. Let's do our style sheet, featured.css. All right. Now, RAFCE, let's get our component here. And what we want to do is import, make sure I'm recording here. Don't want to have that issue. I've recorded a video before and then realized that I wasn't actually recording. It is a huge pain. Okay, so featured.css, all right. And let's go ahead and import this here. Let's see, featured. Auto import, make sure it pulled it in. There it is. Okay, so for our featured, what we want to do, we're going to be using the use state and use effect hook, but let's go ahead and let's do some JSX first, and we're going to kind of build it out, how it's going to look, and then we'll connect our API. So we're just going to plug in some data and just do it all manually at first. So let's go ahead and do our JSX. So I'm going to do this, a class name of featured. There we go. And let's do our container. We could just be using, like I said, a component for a container, but I'm going to do it this way for now. And again, we're going to have a left side and a right side. You don't have to do this. I'm just kind of trying to make it a little bit easier to follow along. So on this left side, let's do a class name of left. There we go. And then we're going to use H2 in here. And we're going to say explore top crypto. Let's see, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dogecoin. Anybody still buying Dogecoin? I hope not. Probably not a great idea right now at this point. Or maybe, I don't know. We will provide no financial advice in this tutorial. Assets, I'm going to say crypto, currencies, and let's do some NFTs. Let's do it. And let's throw in a button here at the bottom. We're going to do a class name, BTN, already have it styled. See more coins. Cool. Let's do our right side, yeah? So div, class name of right. And this we're kind of doing our card. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a like a card and then our little top here. So if you go over here, this is what we're doing. So we've coded up to here. Now right here, we're going to have, this is our right section. If we can make this a little bit bigger. This is going to be our right section. And then these are just going to be some cards. So we're going to put in a little image. This is a H5 and then just some P tags here. And again, we're going to make it to where if just refresh this here, the numbers should change. There we go. Ooh, everything's down. Not a good look. So if thing, like we said, and or like I showed you in the beginning, if it is a negative change, we want this to display as a red color with a down arrow. And if it is a positive change, if it goes up, we want it to be green with an uptrend arrow. So I'm going to shrink this back down. Go back to our app right here, throw in some errors. Let's do this right here. So under here, let's do a div with a class name. This is going to be top. And this is how I'm just formatting it here. You can do it however you like. I'm going to bring in one more image here. We're not going to be using it at the end of the tutorial. We're going to be pulling an image from our Gecko API. But just so I can put in some dummy data, I want it to kind of see what we're styling here. So I'm just going to use this here. I'm just going to call it BTC alt. So you could just throw some text in here. Like I said, I'm just doing this to kind of have some information in here and have some content in here while we build it out. And we're going to assets, and it is called btc-img.png. Cool. So it should be pulling in our picture here. It is massive. We're gonna have to do some styling on that. But before we do some styling, let's go ahead and finish up our JSX here. So we have our image in here. And then below this div, that's just going to be our top container there, basically an image container. Below that, I'm going to create another div. I don't think we need a class name on here yet. We might in the future, we'll see. So this is going to be the name. I'm just going to call it Bitcoin. Like I said, we're going to be pulling the name, the image, and the current price, what we're doing right here next. And we'll just say, I don't know what it is, but we'll say Bitcoin's at 49,000 right now. Cool. And then below that, we want to we'll have a span here, and we want to say, FI arrow up right. Let's go ahead. This is a React icon that we're going to be using. So boom. Well, can't do that, I guess. FI is what we're going to be using. Arrow up right, like so. Close that off. Let's go ahead and import that at the top real quick. Import. We'll do both of them, but we're going to use FA arrow upright and FI arrow. I don't know if it's down or down right. Is that one? Let's just do this for now, okay, you guys. And see, from React icons. And instead of FA, remember, we're doing that pretext. This one's FI. So FI there. Cool. Looking good. All right, so that image is still going to be huge. We're going to take care of that in a minute. I think that is looking good. So in here in this span, I'm just going to say up 2.5%. Cool. So, and like I said, we're going to be pulling in this percentage change. We're going to use a 24-hour percentage change, our price, our name, and an image. We're going to pull all of that from CoinGecko. I just wanted to plug in some data so we can see what we're doing. And so we're actually going to have 6, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to do that in a minute. That way we can just copy it all down and make it all easy. So I'll save this and everything's formatted correctly. What we want to do next, what do we want to do? Let's have a sip of coffee. All right, let's go ahead and we already have Axios installed. Let's go ahead and connect to our API. So I'm going to open this up, and we're going to be using CoinGecko. Boom, let's see what it pulls up. Here we are. And so just go to coingecko.com, and it should be, where is it here? Where is it? Developers, Crypto API. There we go. Cool. And this is 100% free. We're using a free version here. Free view plans. Get started. You don't even have to sign up for anything, you guys. So what we're using, I think, this one, Coin Markets, Coin ID, Coin Markets. Okay, so use the Coin Markets, you guys. And what we want to do, I want to say try it out. Or wait, here we go. The currency, USD, is what we're doing right there. So just type USD, and this is how many coins it's going to return. So you could do 100, you could do 200, 10. In this case, we have 6 here cards that we're going to be using. So all we need is 6. So that's all I'm going to do right there. Just type 6. And that's all we need for this tutorial. We go ahead and click execute. Boom. There is our link right here. So what I'm going to do, just copy this here. Boom. That is copied. And this is how it's going to respond for us. So we'll come back and look at this in a moment. I'm going to go ahead and close that. And in here, this is above the return, and inside our component here, a functional component, but above the return. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to paste const URL, and I'm going to paste in, don't forget the quotes. This is, what happened here? This is our link that we're going to be using. And actually, if you want to go ahead and go to that link, it'll just be that information that we looked at the bottom. It's almost impossible to read. So we won't even worry about that. But basically all that information is right here where it's nice and easy to read. Let's close that. So like I said, we're going to be using the useState and useEffect hook here in this tutorial. So let's go ahead and import that. We'll do useState, then also useEffect. Okay. We're going to go ahead and use our useState effect. So let's do const, and this is going to take in two values. You can name them whatever you like. We're going to store our data. So I'm going to call it data and set data, camel case there, equal to useState, and the default value is going to be null. Okay. So we have our URL here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use the useEffect hook here to connect with Axios. So let's say useEffect, and in here we're going to be passing in an arrow function. We're going to say axios.get, then URL, okay, because we have our URL value up top, dot then, and in here we're going to pass in a response, arrow function here with a response, and in curly brackets, set data, okay, this is for our state, set data to response dot data down here dot catch. I want to catch any errors here, so whoops, they're going to pass this value in the arrow function as well. And there we go. We want to log out any errors. So console.log any errors. And down here, you guys, don't forget, put a comma and some brackets here. Otherwise, it'll just keep calling our API here, and it will wear out. Was it Axios? Okay, forgot to import Axios here at the top. So yeah, like I said, if you don't put in these brackets down here, it'll just keep calling your API, and you'll get a CORS error. So make sure you throw in these brackets. So for Axios, let me just do this at the top, I guess. Import Axios from Axios, and that should fix that issue there. Perfect. Looks like it. Don't mind these errors. We're going to get to those in just a minute. Okay, and not going to see any changes here because we haven't really we haven't entered any data. But okay, let's go into our console.log. Throw in some errors here. Axios is not defined. Refresh. There we go. Cool. So in here, right below, we're just above our return. Let's log out our data here. See what we're returning. Make sure we're grabbing some information from our API. So console.log data, right? Because that's what we're storing in here. So we should have some information, please. Yes. How about that? All right. Let's open it up. Perfect. So it's our top 6 coins here. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Binance Coin, Tether, Solana, and USD Coin. And these are, well, these can always change. I don't know what the crypto pulls it off of. I guess probably a market volume. I'd have to read through the documentation. So the top 6 could always be changing. So that, just so you know. So Bitcoin's probably going to always be on top just because it's the main coin and has the largest market volume. So here it is. Now, instead of having some dummy data in here, let's go ahead and enter in, make it to where our pulling from the API and displaying that data instead of the data that we entered. So let's get it. And also, if we want to add in, okay, if there's if we have an error with our API or with our code, instead of like throwing errors on the site and just closing down our whole site, we can throw in a little if statement that'll basically just hide it off, if hide our component here if there's an error. So let's type if, and then some parentheses here. If there's no data, return null, and that'll kind of save us there. If we're having issues, it just won't display any of this at all. I hate seeing this huge image. All right, let me get a drink. All right, sorry guys. Now, let's go ahead and pass in some information. Let's do this right here. So instead of this ugly, huge image, what we're going to do, I'm just going to comment this out actually. And same thing here, image source But instead of the Bitcoin, what we're going to do is open some curly brackets here. Let's go ahead and just finish Alt. So React does not complain to us. So in here, what we want to access is data. That's where we store our information. And this is stored in an array, by the way, as you can see here. So it's stored in an array. So what we want to do, I'm going to grab 0 here is what we're going to grab. So 0 for the first one, dot name. And we could do some destructuring. This is just, or sorry, not dot name, dot image, I believe. So yeah, image right here. Scroll down, image, and it's going to pull that in. So data is an array, the first one in the array, which is always 0, right? So dot image, and let's see how that looks. So as you can tell, our image already changed. We don't need this anymore. So that means we can go ahead and comment that out. We'll hide some errors there we're getting. So that's looking right there. We still need to style everything, but let's go ahead and import these as well. Or sorry, grab the name as well. And this one is going to be name. So let's put some curly brackets, delete that there. Data, and again, we're looking to that first item in the array. Dot name, I believe is what it's called. So if we have a name there, Bitcoin, I'm going to shut this down so we can actually see what we're doing. There we go. So yes, we grab the name, and then what do we grab next? We want to grab the price. So where's it? Or current price, I think is what it's called. Where are we looking? Current price, 47088. So let's do that. Get in here, we delete that. Data, it's going to be first item again, and the array dot current underscore price is what we're looking for. And let's close that off that. So boom, there he goes, looking nice. Now we can go ahead and add, whoop, we need a $sign. Cool. And then we want some commas in here, and the way we can do that, this is just some plain JavaScript, you guys. So I'm gonna say to locale string, and that should format it how we want it there. Perfect. That added in our comma there. So next, let's do our span here. Now, what we want to do here, we want this percentage here, this daily change, to either be red or green, depending on if it goes up or down. Also, we want the up arrow or the downtrending arrow, if depending on if it's up or down, right? So the way we're going to do that, we're going to type in a little bit of logic here. We already have our fi down arrow. Let's add in, I'm going to add in our red and green classes here real quick, just so we can see that as we're coding. So I'm going to do, we'll come back and style everything in just a moment. So let's just use our CSS variable here for primary. We don't have any reds yet, so let's just do red color, and there we go. Perfect. And let's go back here. So what we want to do to add our logic, what we're going to say, so I'm just going to comment that out right there for now. And we're just going to go above that with some little bit of room. There we go. So what we want to say, we want to open up some curly brackets. And what we want to say is data. Let's see our rate. We're gonna grab our price change here. So dot price change percentage underscore 24h. Okay, and I'm just gonna show you real quick. There's our price change, and where I got this is down here. Let's find it. Price change percentage 24 hours. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. I believe that's the dollar amount up there, but in this case, we want to do the percentage. So what we want to say, if, okay, we have the price data, that price change percentage 24 hours. If it is less than 0, right? Then we want to, let's do our open parentheses here. Then let's do our span with a class name of red. That's what we just named it. and also fi arrow down. Okay. And let's see here. And then we want to display, let's see, data 0 for our first item in the array, price change 24. And then we want this to say .to fixed, okay? So it shows, there's again just some JavaScript here. So it shows a decimal. I don't want to just be displaying 5 characters. I'll leave that out for now so I can show you what I mean. And then let's add in our percentage there. Perfect, perfect. So that's what we want to display if it is negative, or if it's positive here. I'm just displaying here. Span, let's see. So a class name of green. And so if it's positive, we want this to show the FA arrow up, whoop, nope. Up right. There we go. And again, we want it to display data 0 dot price change 24 and percentage. So let's see how that looks. There we go. So everything is looking right. We have our FA arrow down imported, and it looks like it is up right now by 0.31807. Let's just confirm that here. Looking for the price change 24 hour. So it looks like it's already changed. I'll go through here. Should be the same. Okay, well, close. There it is, yeah, 0.31807. But we don't want, six numbers in there. We only want like 2 or 3. So that's where we're going to add there, right here. Dot to fix. This is just some plain JavaScript, you guys. And let's go ahead and copy that. We want it to display right here as well. Cool. So what this is saying right here is our logic. It's grabbing our data price change, and if it is less than 0, we want it to show the red class, so our red color with a down arrow, and this is what we're going to display. Otherwise, if it's, and this is what it's saying, otherwise, if it is greater than 0, we're going to use the green class and show our uptrend arrow, and this is what we're displaying here. So that is it, you guys. But what we want to do, we're having 6, right? And this is only 1, so we can go ahead and delete this to get that out the way. So this is our card, should be our card. See, that's right. Top. Let's wrap this in a card here. There we go. So we can style it a little bit easier. Let's drop this down here and save it so it formats. Perfect. So this is our card right there. And what we're going to do, we're just going to copy this down. Let's just copy that down. So we're going to have 6, so that's 1. So let's do 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And instead of just looping through these, since we only have 6, this is how we're going to do it. So the 6th item in an array, of course, is going to be 5, right? And then type that in here. And then this one, of course, is going to be 4. Because remember, with arrays, we always start at 0. Looking good. And this is going to be 3. Almost done, you guys. I know this is tedious. So 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2, and 2. So this is going to be pulling in some more pictures here, you guys. And then 1, and 1, and 1, and then here is 0, right? So I guess we don't need all this. Sorry, it's kind of just some clutter here. I'm going to refresh this and everything should be pulling over. We haven't done any styling yet. We're going to jump on that in just a moment. But let's see how it looks. Should have some more coins. Perfect. So as you can see, pulling out Bitcoin, there is Ethereum, Binance coin. This is Tether, Solana, USD coin. Perfect. So this is looking pretty great, you guys. Let's go ahead and style this thing. Alrighty. If you're having any problems or any questions or comments, please put those in the description below, and I'll be sure to get to those. Yeah, that's all our JSX for here. We use the useState hook and the useEffect hook right here to connect to Axios. And again, don't forget this bracket, you guys. We don't even need to log this anymore. You can comment that out if you like. Now that we already know what we're grabbing, and you didn't have to log it out in the first place. Just if you want to use it for the sake of developing and making things a little bit easier on yourself. So let's jump into some styling. So a bit of styling here. I'm going to go up to the top. So for our featured, we're going to be using grid again, you guys. So let's do a width of 100%. And let's do padding, 8 rem top and bottom, 0 on left and right. And we want our background color. There we go. And this is where we're going to use our CSS variable background. We haven't used that yet. So there we go. And I'm going to use, this is kind of a cool site, you guys. I'll show it to you real quick. I'm going to just copy this in over here. And where I got this, you guys, I don't remember all that stuff in CSS. I'm not some like CSS guru, so check out this site. It's called bennettfeely.com/Clippy. I don't know, it's just something I found on Google. It's pretty cool. So basically you can kind of just design whatever you want as triangle. I think I did a trapezoid for this one. And basically I just did something like this. Boom, like that. And then you just copy down here. And that's all you need to do. So really cool tool here for developers. If you're not great with CSS or just need a little help and just kind of make things a little bit easier on yourself. So super cool tool, bennettfeely.com. I'll put this in the description below. So that's all I did there. There you can see, we haven't styled it yet on mobile devices, but there it is right there. You can kind of see the slant down and then should be able to see it at the bottom as well. So pretty neat, pretty neat. But let's move on. Let's go to our container here. Whoop, featured container. And this we're going to display as grid. There we go. Grid template columns. And we're just going to use 2 again. So repeat 2 1FR. All right. Justify content center. Align items to the center. And let's do some padding here. 1 rem. All right, you guys. So, and again, we have our left and right side. So let's style our left and right now. I'm going to do, featured. Let's do our left side first. And so I'm going to display, this is flex, we're going to do a flex column. So flex direction column, just put content to the center. And let's do some padding on the bottom of 2 rem. Okay. So, and I'm just going to change a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit more margin here. So featured left. We're going to do margin 1.5 rem top and bottom, 0 on the left and right. And then also I'm going to add a little bit of styling to this button class in here. We already have the button styled, but what I want to do is align self to not stretch, to flex start. Cool. And that's just going to move the button around to the beginning here. So that is looking good here. Let's have a look. Let's go and wait, because all our images are still going to be huge and just not even look right. So this side looks right, but we need to style our right side here because that is all jacked up. So I'm going to leave this big for now, actually. And let's go ahead and do our right side. Featured right. And we're going to display this side as flex as well. So let's go ahead and display flex and flex wrap. We want to wrap it. There we go. And justify content. Let's do space evenly. There we go. So let's style our card now, though. So featured, whoops. Let's see, right, card, there we go. And here's how we're gonna do that. We want to display our cards as flex. And this is what our, what we're styling right now, you guys, are these little cards right here. So that's what we're doing right now. So we want to display flex direction as a column here. And I'll give some more room. We want the padding, okay, to be 12 pixels, and then maybe 22 pixels there. Let's give a margin 0.4 rem. Width, I'm doing 170 pixels, and also the height as well. So let's copy that down and change that, whoops, change that to height. And we want a border radius of 24 pixels, a little rounded edges there. And a border of 1 pixel solid, and I'm gonna use a light gray. I don't know what color code this is. So here's how you can do that. So you can kind of click that. Should be able to, no, it's not gonna pull it in. Let's see what that is. Light gray, D3, okay, cool. So D3, love VS Code for that. All right. Then let's do a box shadow, RGB, and let's do 000 12%. I'm just copying this over you guys here at this point right here. I am not a wizard with box shadow or anything like that, and especially that clipping thing we did at the top. Not a CSS expert. And text align, let's do center. Okay, so and let's do a little hover effect. Remember we had that little hover effect, just where we increase the box shadow a little bit here. So card, and then let's add our hover selector there. And let's do a box shadow. RGB, let's do, let's copy this to make things easy. We'll copy that. And what we want to do, I'm just gonna change this, instead of 12%, let's do 20%. And then all the other values will remain the same. So, whoops, scroll down there just a little bit. So now I'm gonna do featured, featured card, and we're targeting the top now. This is where the image is. Display flex. Remember, this kind of more or less just an image container here. Column, and then let's see here, featured right. IMG. This is our image, right? So let's make our images 50 pixels, kind of nice and small here. Margin auto, and then padding. We want to say 0.2 rem on the top and bottom, 0 on the left and right. So let's see here. I'm going to see how this looks. Starting to look okay. Starting to look okay. That let's reload that. Looks a little bit big though. Let's see. Let's change. Let's see. Let's see. We might need to shrink these down quite a bit. Oh, it's not selecting it for some reason. So it's 124. See at the top right, 124 pixels, and we want it to be 50 pixels. So, oh, that misspell. Happens to the best of us, you guys. Happens to the best of us. All right. So looking good so far. Let's do, still have a little bit more styling to do, but as you can see, we have our slant here. I'm just going to close that so we don't have that annoying hover thing there. So looking good so far. What we want to do, I'm going to, oh, dang it. I wanted to style these icons. I'm just going to do this. Okay. I should have given it a class name. Now I have to go and give all these a class name here manually. So that's okay. I'm just going to copy it and we'll do it super quick. So I'm just going to copy this. And basically, I'm just going to give a class name on all of our icons here, which is kind of a pain because we have to do it on the up arrow and the down arrow. That's okay, you guys. That's okay. Hang with me, you guys. Sorry for that. I know it is tedious, but this is going to look badass when we are done. So don't you worry about that. I appreciate the love in the comment, you guys. Appreciate that. thank you for following along as I'm learning here. So, and hopefully I can teach you something as well. So the only way to learn is just to build out projects like this. And I really do enjoy it. And I hope you guys do too, especially with cryptos. I don't know if you guys invest in cryptos, but it is fun. It is addicting. So what we're going to do next, everything's looking great, but let's go ahead and style this, our little icon here. Just make it a little bit bigger. So featured icon, and let's do a font size of 36 pixels. I don't know what's that in RAM. Color and no, what we need to do, margin, auto, padding, top. Let's do just a little bit of padding up there, and justify content to the center, and let's align items to the center. Looking good. That's a little bit small. Let's just fix that. So whoops, featured, that is our span. Let's do a font size of pixels. Sweet. Whoa, looking funky there, looking funky. We're gonna have to go in and change that. Let's see here. Let's see. I want to make sure it looks, well, we haven't done any mobile queries, media queries yet. Let's do that next. All right, so I think that we might have to come back and make some changes, you guys. I'm not sure yet. We'll have a look. We'll leave that back at 26 pixels. Yeah, we might have to come back and do some changes. That's okay. But next, let's just go ahead and do some media queries. And we're just gonna have a couple different media queries. We're gonna do one for like a tablet and then also mobile as well. So media screen, and let's do the max width. I think we did 940 pixels. Let's keep it consistent here. And we want this to be a container here. We want this to, it's a grid, so we want to display grid, template columns, just one FR, so we want it to stack. And then on our tablet devices, grab our BTN here. Want to align self to center. There we go. Cool. Whoa, we're gonna have to fix that there. That's okay. That's okay, guys. We'll come back and fix that. Let's do another media query here. At media screen, and this one's going to be what? Max width of 478. So this is actually a little bit smaller than this. This only shrinks down to 500. So it's going to be a little bit smaller than this. Featured container, right, and then our card here. We want our width to be 100%. We want our card, they're going to stack on top of each other, and we want it to be 100%. So let's go ahead and look at this on a mobile device here, such as an iPhone X. Scroll down, perfect. That is what we want, you guys. That is what we want. Look at that, pulling in the information beautifully. That is just perfect. That's money right there. All right. Thank you for following along, guys. Let's close that down there. All right, thanks for bearing with me too. I know that was kind of a pain. Let's open this up and see how it looks though. Cool. I'm not really liking that there, how it's pulling off the card. We do not want that. So let's go ahead and let's fix that there. So let's see, why is it, should we just, I'm gonna close this here. Do we want to just shrink that down? What do we do over here? Have a look over here. So it's 28, span red, 124, 42. Let's go. That's 28 pixels. 42. Okay, okay. Let's have a look at our JSX over here. Well, that looks good. I don't really see anything there. Let's have a look. Sorry, guys, I'm just looking. I want to make sure this displays correctly. I think that's pretty good. Let's just go ahead and lower the font size a little bit. Let's leave it at 22. There we go. I think that's looking good for now, you guys. Let's do that. We can come back and change it if we want to. Cool. There we go. All right, so let's move on to the next section. The next section is it's kind of like sign up section here. So, or earn right there. Boom, right here. We have the image here, and of course, we have a little hover effect here. Hover, we scale it up just a little bit there. And we're going to be using the grid. Of course, I have our input and our button. And then next we have our footer to wrap this thing up. So let's go ahead and let's do our next section. So close the featured tab here. And the one we're doing next, you can call it whatever you like. I'm just going to call it, I'll probably just call it like sign up here. We're trying to grab an email address. So sign up or earn. Let's do sign up. Signup.js. And let's do our styling here. Signup.css. And don't forget, let's our functional component, refce. Let's import. Whoops, there we go. Import our styling here. So signup.css. And let's go into our app here. Sign up. Auto import with the enter. There we go. Perfect. So this is going to be an easy one, you guys. And we do have an image that I'm going to be using. And I'm going to pull this over right now. Again, this is going to be in the link to these images is going to be in the description below. So feel free to use those out of the GitHub repository. All right. So let's do this. Let's give it a class name of sign up there. Then, of course, we're going to use our container. There we go. And let's do our, you guessed it, left and right. There we go. So for our left side, let's do this. Open it up with the div. Class name. Left. There we go. And we'll use our image in here. Image, source. And we haven't pulled it in yet at the top, but let's just call it CR crypto. That alt tag too, you guys. And let's pull in our image. Again, you can name it whatever you'd like. Crypto from our assets folder. There we go. And this one is what we call it. Trade.png is right there. So, and it's this phone right there. So on a transparent background. So we should be having our image. Boom! It's massive. It looks terrible. That's all right. Let's go back and style this thing. Well, we'll finish our right side first here. That is it for the left side. On our right side, we want to do, it's going to be right, and then we're going to have an H2 here. And our H2 is just going to say earn passive income with crypto. There we go. And let's do a P tag. P tag earn up to 12% annual rewards on 30 plus digital assets. All right, and then we can add a little bit more in here. I'm gonna copy this over, you guys. I want to type it all. Probably gonna be about 50 characters a year, maybe a little bit less there. So underneath the P tag, but still in this right div here, I'm gonna add another div with a class name of input container, because inside here is where we're gonna have our input and our container. So input type email, and we're gonna have a placeholder here. Enter your email, and we need to close this one off here. So a button with the class name, btn. Again, everything is styled, and this is going to say learn more. So that should look great, you guys. There we go. Perfect. All right, so let's do our styling here. For our styling, let's do our sign up. Whoa, what's going on? Sign up container. And we're going to be using grid again on this one. So let's just spray grid and grid template columns. We're only going to use 2. So repeat to 1 fraction. And let's do justify content to the center. Align items to the center. So everything is nice and even. Padding. Do 3 rem top and bottom, 1 rem on the sides. So for our left, and I realized, guys, I could name these things differently. Instead of just saying left and putting in the sign up, because we have in multiple components, we use the left class name. So that might be less than optimal naming on my end. So I apologize for that, but this is just how I do it. There are many ways to do it. If you don't like how I do it, then you can do it your way. So let's do a width, width of, we'll say 300 pixels. So that image is not massive. There we go. Boom. Dude, already looking good. Everything's like already styled. So let's do our hover effect though. So sign up, img hover, and let's do transform. And what we want to do is we want to scale this thing. Scale. Let's just do 1.1. So just a little jump there. Transition. Let's do 0.5s. Ease in, out. So let's have a look. Boom. Perfect, dude. That looks good, right? Starting to come together. Awesome. So we got the hover. We need any margin. Let's add a little bit of margin to this text there. Just that p tag. Whoop. So over to the right side. Margin to rem. There we go. That looks good. And we do need to make this grid just 1 fraction when we go down, to the tablets. And of course, mobile devices, because that's just going to look jacked up there. So let's do a media screen and a max width, probably 940 pixels, you guys. Let's do that. Keeping it consistent. I do know, as bad as I am in design, I do know one thing. It is a good idea to keep everything consistent. So, add a little dot there. That should be good there. Sweet. Perfect. Look at that. That is money, you guys. That is perfect. All right, let's go ahead and add, let's do our footer. Sweet, yeah, let's do our footer. So, same thing with our footer, you guys. Gonna open up a new component here. We can close these. So new file, footer.js and footer.css, RAFCE. Let's get our functional component here. Import, footer.css, and we'll add it in. Whoops. Oh, and I didn't import it. Let's do this up here. Import footer from components. There we go. Cool. All right. Now into our footer. If you're ready to do our JSX there, let's do it. We are going to use some icons in here. We can go ahead and import those first. These are our social icons. So, and we're using those down here. We're going to use those right here. So, does it look kind of messed up if we keep the text next to it too? Maybe I'll just do the icons. We'll see. So let's import these. What we're going to be using is FA Facebook, FA GitHub, FA LinkedIn, FA Twitter. And if you want to look at all these from React icons /FA, don't forget that. If you want to look at all these here, I found if you could just Google React icons, boom, right here. And this tells you how to install everything. We already did at the beginning, npmi React icons. And here you can, for example, Facebook, and you can just type in and use whatever you'd like. This little pretext I was talking about, FA, this one's FA, this one's GI. So when you import it at the top, make sure you add the little 2 character preset there. So React looks like react-icons.github.io. So different icon libraries. That's just the one I like to use. It's the one I usually use. It's simple. So simplicity is my friend. So let's go ahead and do class name of footer. And again, just if you want a little extra information there, feel free to read through that one. Throw in our container. So inside our container, we're going to have a Let's do column, and I'm also going to say column 1. I'll show you why we're going to do this in a minute. We just want to select that first column here. And inside here, we want to have a H1. I'm going to say D, and then also span with a class name, primary, FI. There we go. Just like we did in our navbar there, which is not very sticky. We'll have to go back and fix that. And just notice that, you guys. We want it to be sticky at the top. So we will go back and fix that in a moment. But there we go. That's displaying correctly. So let's see, underneath this div. So that's our first column. We're going to have, I think, was it like 4 columns. So don't worry about that error there. So class name, this is going to be another column. And inside here, let's have an H5. The first column was different. That's why we gave it a column 1 class name in there, because we all want them to be columns, but this one is just going to be a little bit different. This is one is going to have some links under it. So we have the support. Then the support, let's have a span, the class name. We have that little bar underneath there. And let's give it an A tag. These links are not going to be going anywhere. They're not going to be working in this tutorial. So doesn't really matter. You can add whatever you'd like to add. And I'm going to say cat help center. And let's do like a FAQ or something like that. Oop. There we go. So that's column there. And we can, now what we can do is highlight that and just copy it down. I think we did 2 other ones. Yeah, developers, company, social. So now we have support. We'll do developers. And here we type in what's cool for developers. Let's do cloud. Let's do commerce. I've been doing some AWS classes, you guys. I might do a little tutorial on how to host a website on AWS Cloud for free. So if you guys want to see that, then please let me know. We can always do that. That'll be a fun little project. So next one, support, developers. Let's do company. So inside here, we can have company. We're going to say about, and then this one's going to be information. This one will be, what's it, legal. And we do privacy. Boom. And looking good. Oh, forgot we have to do our icons. So I'm just going to copy this down one more. And let's say social. And see here, instead of about, let's do FA Facebook. And let's give these class names. Icon. Close it off. There we go. I'm just going to copy that down so we can have the, let's do it this way. We can delete all that there. So we have our 4 icons, but we want this to be, what was that next one? Twitter, a LinkedIn. That's a lowercase n, I believe. And what do we do? GitHub. There we go. Maybe this DeFi site could have a GitHub account. Never know. Never know. Let's see how that looks without the text, because we might just do that. Cool. Okay, so looking good. Let's do some styling, and then we can come back and change it if we want to. That is all the JSX we need to do for our footer. Let's go in and do our styling. Let's see, footer, and let's give this footer our background color. What do we use? Variable background. There we go. Padding, 5 rem, top and bottom, 0 on left and right. And oh, let's do our clip path again. So we can go ahead and let's go back to our featured.css. Sorry, featured.css. I'm just going to grab that. Use this same one here in the footer, but I'm going to change it a little bit. Or no, let's just do that. Let's do that. We'll change this to 100. See how that looks. Awesome. Looking good. Looking good. So let's do We have the footer. Let's do the container here. This is where we want to display as grid and grid template columns. And we're not going to be using 2 yet, or in this one, we're going to be using 5. We want them all to be equal. We want the justify content to be a space. Let's do space between padding, 1 rem. Perfect. Now let's do our column. For our column, we want to display as flex, because we want to flex direction as a column there, okay? And for our bar, we want that little bar down there. Just that little tiny green bar. So let's do a footer, bar, let's do width, 30 pixels. And how small you want, you know, like I said, whoops. React is really cool because you have reusable components, right? So how in-depth you want to get with the components is totally up to you. I don't get super in-depth with them on these tutorials here. If you're on a larger project, it would probably be a good idea to do so. But I'd just like to show you some of the basic functions of React and some of the hooks we want to use. And it's always a good idea if you want to learn a little bit more about hooks like use state and use effect, there's so much good information out there. I actually recommend just reading the white pages, just the documentation on the React website. It is very informative. It's actually pretty easy to read too. If you're new to coding, as long as you have a basic understanding, you can actually retain quite a bit of information. All right, so cool, looking good there. I think that's it for our full screen here. We need to fix that there. It looks kind of funny though. Let's see how we laid this down. So we actually want that span. Span, bar. Well, why is it doing that? Let's have a look here. Font size, bar, border bottom, margin, width, 30 pixels, flex column, container, grid, 5, space between, padding, 1 rem. All right. Let's go ahead and finish this out, and then we'll come back and redo that if we need to. Is that displaying correctly there? I'm gonna just comment that out. What is it? Oh, okay, I see you guys. There is our problem. I don't know why, but for some reason, I put the span down there. I apologize. I bet y'all probably already caught that without me. You're like, what is this idiot doing? All right, so I'm just gonna cut that and paste it there. Okay, so that's what we wanted, you guys. Sorry about that. Little debugging. Again, it happens to the best of us. I'm no senior developer here, but everybody runs into problems like this. Even the senior guys, I can guarantee it. So there we go. And I think that might even look a little bit better. What do you guys think? So a little more minimalist there without the text. I think that looks good. Let's do some media queries to finish this thing off. We're going to do a couple here. So max width, the first one, let's do 940 pixels. Whoops. Was going to go a little bit smaller, but let's do 940. And for that, we just want to change the grid template column here. Columns to, not 1 though, 2 and 1 fraction there. And so let's drop this down. See, we're at 1200 pixels, 11, about 1000, 9, getting close to 940. Boom, drops down to 2. Cool, that looks better. This will be on tab to you guys, so down to about 500 right here. And let's throw this so we can view it on like a mobile device. On a mobile device, we could do that. We probably want to display this a little bit differently. Just hide that. Cool. So let's just do this. So footer, we'll just grab the column 1, which is our header, right? And let's just display. Cool. That looks good there. We can always change that. So what we want to do, this kind of looks a little bit crowded. And that was our H5. Let's give that a margin top of, there we go, 2 rem. Looks good. Let's do one more media query just to see how it looks. Whoop. Let's do on 478 pixels. So this is going to be basically on actual mobile devices. So footer, container, grid, template column. Let's just see what this looks like. Actually, I think I like it with 2. Yeah, I think I'm gonna like it with 2. I'm gonna leave it as it is with 2. So let's just comment that out. Boom. All right, dude. How's that look? All right. What? I mean, other than all these freaking crypto prices being down, I said it looks pretty good. Let's open up here to full screen. And as you can tell, this is fully responsive, you guys. We did it fully responsive React application using hooks with useState and useEffect, connecting to the Gecko API. We're displaying some info here. Let's refresh and see if we can get some green in here. Damn it, no green. All right, it's gonna be a bad Christmas this year if these cryptos keep dropping. Dang, Ethereum's down almost $1,000 from like several weeks ago. So good time to buy, you guys. I hope you're putting money in there. I know I am. So let's look down. Have our nav bar here. It is sticky. Goes over our hero here. Then down here, pulling information from CoinGecko here with our API with the useEffect hook. Scroll down here. Our little sign up section, earn passive income with crypto. There you go. Scale this up on hover. Looking great, looking great. Got a little hover effect on these buttons as well. Just a little shadow you can kind of see in the background in our footer. And as you can tell, as we scroll down here to a shorter page, everything stacks up nicely. Looking great. Everything on a tablet here. Perfect, perfect. None of our links work here, so we didn't connect them. That's not the point of this tutorial. Scroll down, boom, look at that. Everything stacks up perfectly. Then again, if we were to inspect and look on like an iPhone or something like that, perfect. There you go. All right, you guys, thank you so much for following along with me in this tutorial. I hope you learned something. If you did, please give the video a like and consider subscribing to my channel. I'm going to be putting out some more content in React, just like this video here. We're going to be exploring some new hooks, going past the useState and useEffect hook. Those are pretty common, probably the most used. But we're going to be exploring some new hooks, be using some more APIs, and possibly connecting to a database here in the near future. I hope you liked it, you guys. Thanks for following along. I will see you on the next one.